All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? Welcome back to the Team Sway and Batty Overwatch League. I'm HS0, joined here with Veiled Destiny and Tree on the mics. Appreciate your patience with the delays because it would not be week one of a Batty League without nothing starting on time. This week brought to you by the wonderful OWDraft.com, having some technical issues. But we are here to start the new season off with Winstoni Bologna versus Wangjiang Tower on Nepal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this first match really plays out. We've got 5 teams in the league this season, so one team's going to get a bye each week, and the other 4 are going to play a game each. A game ends up being, I guess, really a match, 3 games each. If it goes that long, whoever ends up winning. Are we doing points? Actually, that's a good question. Are we doing
Microphone
points or
activated.
No,
maps?
I believe it's straight up maps.
Okay.
So,
So yeah, we'll see who the winner of the maps are, but this first ban ended up being a little bit difficult. The next ones are going to be a little bit more straightforward. The winning team bans 4 maps, and the losing team gets to pick anything else that's left over that's competitive right now. And we are playing with a competitive rule set, so for the control points, you have to win 3, I believe, not 5. And it should be pretty explosive between the Winstoni Bologna and the Wangjiang Tower. A lot of skill on both of these teams.
Yeah, I am
So
just attempting to figure out how the fuck to set this to best of 5 instead of 3, and then we will get set.
perfect. But yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties. First game of the season, first match. We'll run into that. The rest of
yeah,
the season should be better.
it doesn't help that the Overwatch custom game system is only a slight step forward from Riot's.
So I was happy to hear though that we are, for those of you that watched last season and really loved the Mercy Shore team dynamic, we're bringing the Mercy Shore casters back again this season. And the good news is we can't lose any matches as casters together. And we'll just be seeing each other on the Rift this season. So yeah, you'll get to hear Swift and myself together this first match, and maybe again later on as the season goes.
Yeah, it's really nice after all the hardship we went through last season to know that it's over. We can rest now.
The Mercy Shore dream will never die.
Alright, we're going.
All right, wonderful. So loading into Nepal here. Pretty shitty first map. Not gonna lie. I don't like Nepal.
Really, it's one of my favorites. I
Well,
like control points.
I like the other King of the Hill maps, but Nepal definitely the worst of the crop. I feel like I just learned a lot about why Mercy Shore struggled last season.
It's all right. I'll carry that burden on my back as I try to carry the rest of the team. But as we get a little saucy in here, we've got a couple of seconds uh, as everyone prepares to attack. The the dynamic so far looks to be pretty standard. We have 2-2-2 for the Winstoni Bologna and 3-2-1 for tanks and 1 DPS for
Yeah, nothing
the Wangjiang Tower.
nothing looking too crazy here when Stony Baloney going with one of those kind of split comps with a dive and a pharmacy both on there. And Wang Jing Tower going with what is a pretty normal 3 tank comp with a soldier to work as their backline. So the player to keep an eye on here is going to be 30 because no, it's going to be all about the pause actually, as we will keep you updated. I guess when we find out what's going on here. But to me, the player to watch is going to be 30, at least at the start here. As oh yeah, UTEC's having DC issues. He has those a lot. Oh, maybe he's having sound issues. Okay, well that's probably fixable.
Yeah, going back to the player to watch. 30. I've never seen him on Tracer, but a very skilled player running Tracer or Genji ends up being such a nightmare for the team because they get in, murdered a couple of your backline, get out, and then repeat. And with that rinse cycle, you end up never having enough people to really capture the point. Or if you do capture it, you just slowly lose it, and then you just never gain it back again. But with a bunch of fatties, with the tanks of Roadhog, Reinhardt, and Zarya, might end up being able to survive that.
Yeah, not surprised to see 30 starting the season off on Tracer. She's a huge part of the professional meta right now, which, for those of you that maybe don't follow, we all know that 30 is going to be following very avidly at all times. And
is that because he's a part of it? And he's just gracing us with his presence?
We're all gracing the professional Overwatch scene with its presence, because until the Overwatch League starts, I think we can call the BOL a premier North American tournament. And when you run 3 seasons, you pull a little weight in the scene.
Yeah.
And 30, two-time champion, he's pulling a lot of weight in that scene, you know?
I didn't realize he was a 3-time champion. I didn't know he had won the last season. I knew he won the first season, though. So, it'll be interesting, the dynamic between Jim and 30. Really the people that went for a lot of money on this team, trying to power their way through the rest of the season.
Alright, and looks like we have both teams ready, so we are unpausing right here. And okay, there's our countdown. Cool.
Perfect.
So just the time, both teams charging onto the point here. Wangjiang Tower kind of walking up the stairs with the front line, with Roadhog going off to the flank there. And eyes there looking for picks as like both teams just tossing out some preliminary damage here.
Yeah, it's pretty chaotic.
Yeah, Fair's getting some really good damage down from the skies there. As the picks are coming in, Evelite picks up 2. As I'm saying that, not looking great for Winstoni Baloney here.
Ooh, and it seems to be a little bit of lack of coordination. People keep getting slept and woken up immediately on the part of the Wangjiang Tower. Keep wanting to say Lijiang Tower. But yeah, now they're progressing pretty far forward.
Just a heads up, I believe it's Wangjiang Tower.
Wangjiang, okay.
Yeah, I know they were very particular about us getting that right.
So, ooh, and it looks like they're gonna try and back around on the left side, leading the charge. Albino Joe hanging out. He might try and flank, get some damage on some of those healers, pull the team apart, and he is on the point trying to murder Scotch and Anna.
Yeah, kind of a split pincer engage coming out of Wangjiang Tower here, but it doesn't. I mean, they got Evelite, and yeah, they got Scotch too. Both those guys going down before they get a chance off. This is actually looking really good for Wangjiang Tower, as they haven't had to drop anything. They're dropping the beat now, but they are just pick after pick here. They might not even needed that. Chill Out gonna secure things out with honestly a wasted attack visor, but cap is gonna be a cap there. So Winstoni's only taking it up to 60, but Wangjiang gonna answer.
Lasted a long time there. He ended up getting his team about 10 more seconds, 10 more percentage points on the point just by surviving with those shields up. And if you're all familiar with Overwatch, 10 seconds, 10 percentage points can mean the difference between a win and a loss. So they're going to regroup here, try and put everything back together.
Yeah, this is going to be
attack.
A good point for Winstoni Baloney, though. They're coming in. They've got 4 ults available in a second here, as they got Treemeister going in nice and ham. And there we go. The Graviton Surge coming out. It is going to hit everybody. The Rocket Barrage going to follow it up. And that is a super easy cap for Winstoni Baloney. Gonna get the team kill. They only have to commit 2 of their ults to go 0 for 6 there. That was a disaster for Wangjiang Tower.
Yeah, it looked like Treemaster ran in, pulled everyone to him, and then the Graviton Surge just collapsed with him. Ooh.
Yeah, the shooter die coming in. He gets a really nice hammer down, but a big sleep coming out of T-Mick there. As we see Wangjiang Tower, they're going pretty ham onto the point here, but maybe getting a little deep. Both the Ana's going down the side of this fight. Keep an eye. Scotch does have the rest available. He's only going to be able to get the Ana with it because he's under a lot of pressure right now. This fight split as balls, but it's looking good for Winstoni Baloney to hold this point. They've 1 for 3 so far.
Evelite providing a lot of damage overall, charging that ultimate really quickly. And Ana ulting Chill Out on that Soldier 76 doesn't look like he can pull anyone down and ends up dropping himself, as this game is now into overtime for Winstoni Baloney.
But a nice Graviton Surge coming out of UTech, as healers are almost all down here.
30 doing 30 things, jumping around the map, and ooh, Bear getting nano boosted at the end of her ult.
Watch out, Chill Out dropping
damage.
a big tack visor. This could be the one that changes things, and it is going to be. Tack visor turns into a cap, so overtime going to be fruitful here for Wangjiang Tower.
Ooh, and they pick off Evelite at the end. He was low, but he'll have to. His team will have to wait for him to get back in order to push forward. As this, it's halfway done for Wangjiang Tower, and it just continues to go up. Ooh, and they're gonna come across to the side, maybe surprise them.
Yeah, they're all coming in. The only ult they've got available right now is going to be the Graviton Surge, so they might try to hold that for a fight, but they don't have a ton of time to work with here as they're pressing in. Evelite up in the air, looking for some picks on the back line, maybe. But not a whole ton of damage coming out of Wangjiang here.
Drops really low right as he would have gotten his ultimate to survive, so that's a good pickoff for Winstoni Baloney, but they're dropping members, and
yeah,
Scotch
30 and Jim both go down. Jim never got a chance to get off the Graviton Surge there. This could be really bad because there's only a few percentage points away from a win here for Wangjiang Tower.
Scotch drops at 95% with his ultimate, so there is no res for the next couple of seconds until he gets back to the team. And there's the ultimate, counter ultimate out of Sword and Mace, who drops.
Evelite only gets one with the Rocket Barrage, and now Albino Joe going apeshit on the points.
Yeah, they've got 2 members there. One of them drops, and Jim drops as well. So that's going to be first map going over to Wangjiang Tower.
Yeah, looking good for a while there for Winstoni Baloney, but they were not able to close it out.
So, if a team finds that anything didn't go super well the first time around, switching champions is very easy at the beginning of the match. As of yet, we see one change. UTech is now going to Diva instead of Zarya. And
yeah, we also see 30 switching over to the Soldier instead of the Tracer, so that's a pretty big change. Going for a little more standardized of a composition, you know, front to back. DPS him down behind the Reinhardts, which Jim has switched over from the Zarya, so still going to be a 3-2-1 on the side of Wangjiang Tower.
And it worked for them last round. So another damage dealer or tank instead of another healer. See how well it works this time, as the point looks very different, and UTech just fell to his death. That was amazing. He didn't get pushed, he just slowly walked off the edge. That's going to be hurting for his team.
Yeah, not how you wanted to start this map off in the neutral here. Keep an eye, Albino Joe coming in on the back line here. He's putting a lot of pressure down on the back of Baloney.
And Jim, ooh, murdering people, but gets booped off the edge by Sword and Mace on that Lucio. A lot of damage coming off from both sides. No one team is really holding the point as long as they need to actually cap it, and when Winstoni Baloney is going to let that point go over, they can't get anyone on the point before it caps.
Yeah, that was a really good start by Winstoni Baloney, but they did not convert their picks properly once they tried to get onto the point, and so that ends up costing them big.
30 harassing from the side as the rest of the team tries to force their way in through Albino Joe and UTech. Some really big tanks, and they're taking damage.
Yeah, but as long as they've got that Reinhardt available, they can feel pretty confident going here. I think they're just trying to pick off and get some ults charged up, which they are close on a lot of their ults. But Avalite going to go down, but Winstoni Bologna does not care. Jim goes for the hammer down, but he's not really being followed up on at all. As attack visor going to go down on the 30. Scotch gets only a solo man res off, and these are all ults available have been blown, but not looking great. As there we go, Wangjiang hammer down, drop by shooter die, looking really bad for Winstoni Bologna. As I think Wangjiang are going to hold this point.
30 is trying to do as much as he can, providing damage as the rest of his team just slowly falls, and he cannot get through the tanks as well as he needs to in order to push through the point, and it is now at 65%. And this is looking rough.
Be better ult economy coming in for this next fight for Winstoni. They've got 2 ults available. It's just the UTech ult on the D.Va, one of the less impactful ults, and they're going to pick Albino Joe up. They are coming behind Wangjiang Tower here, working their way through Shooter Die's shields. As Treemeister coming in on the flank, he's going to drop down that whole hog on the point if his team can get there to back him up.
Oh, and he
UTech buying time with the D.Va ult. This was not a good pincer coming out of Winstoni Bologna, as they are now about to be in full desperation mode. They still do have the Evelite's ult available, and they are very close to a hammer down as well with Jim on the points. But no one can get on this point. This flank was a big risk, and maybe not a payoff, as both hammers get dropped on the points.
Wily Coyote goes down, and that Evelite cannot touch the point, and that's the end of game 2.
Yeah.
Map 2.
Winstoni Bologna went real hard to go for that full flank around, and they just could not walk through the Wangjiang front line. And Jim ended up trying to stall as much time at that point. Treemeister tried to stall time on that point earlier, but their teammates just could not get to them, and not as good as the first map.
This Wangjiang team looks so good right now. Like, the first map was a little rough, but the second one, they held it the entire time.
This is kind of looking like how I would have imagined these teams are going to play out. When things are really coordinated, 30's teams looked very good with, you know, they have a plan, they're shot calling. But Overwatch is so much about how, when fights break down into chaos, just out skirmishing people on the other team. And the average player on Wangjiang Tower is so good. I think everyone would kind of expect them to be one of the better teams in the more chaotic moments. And they have been so far. So we'll see if they can keep that up, as they're going for a pretty simple rush on the point here, while 30 and Winstoni Bologna going to hold the point from below, but taking a lot of damage as Evelite goes down super early. Not a good start for Winstoni.
And a lot of charging onto the point. Both teams contesting it very, very hard. And ooh, they actually push off Winstoni Bologna to cap the first point. They killed 1 member, followed up by 2 more. Jim and Treemaster dropping. Wily Coyote and 30 doing the best they can to stay alive as Scotch also drops. They're going to have to retreat in order to re-coordinate an attack.
Yeah, a ton of ult charge coming out of that first fight for Wangjiang Tower, as they're now in a really good situation, holding a bit further up in this choke. Not super aggressively, though.
Yeah, we'll see 4 ults, maybe even 5, if Shooter Die can get up there for this next fight.
Yeah, Treemeister gonna make this the hook. Jim looking for something on the point, as the tag visors are both gonna be dropped. Keep an eye on the soldiers, as, oh man, 3 picks in the blink of an eye coming out for Wangjiang Tower, looking really good to hold this point. They have pushed Winstoni back.
Yeah, Albino Joe goes hog wild, kills 2, and just pushes the team away, as Jim's just left on his own with 5 other members to deal with. This team, I don't know if it's the chaos or the coordination. We'll keep watching and see what comes of it, but things are looking really good right now, as they're at 65%, and Scotch gets pulled and immediately knocked down.
Big. Yeah, Transcendence too. He could not afford to die there, as this could be the last really standard fight that's going to happen. As both teams going to drop really nice hammers down here. And the whole hog coming out of Treemeister, they're going to try to push their way out of this point, as they've gotten multiple picks for the first time this game. They've established the point, but Sword and Mace doing the Lucio things, buying a lot of time for his teammates to get here.
Yeah, those are some melees and healers. The shield staying up, keeping members alive. Uh, 99% and it's overtaken. So they'll have some time to reset as 30 is pushing people back on his lonesome.
Yeah, solid fight there out of Winstoni. But a lot of pressure here, although they are in a good spot getting a few more picks right as we speak. Not in a super great spot on ult, so they're not going to have any crazy advantage in holding this point, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, Chillout's gonna have his. They could mix that with the Nano Boost if they wanted to. Albino Joe's getting close, and Sword Mace, if he doesn't drop here, will probably have his for this next fight, as healing just generates so much ult. He's at 97. Ooh, good sleep. Treemeister taking a nap on the stairs. That's very comfortable.
That's 30 going down. That's going to be huge for Winstoni and Bologna, as they really need 30 to carry this fight, and they just give up the point. What? That was, oh man, that was a big, embarrassing misplay coming out of Winstoni Bologna, as they just get murdered on this point, and that is it. The
Yeah, that was a complete
game
team ace,
over.
except for 30 coming back at the end, and ooh, best of 5. They'll take 3.
Play of the match.
Play of the match going to be going over to Treemeister on the Winston, and this was, I believe, the setup on the Graviton Surge. This is going to just walk up. No aim, no brain, Winston main.
Yeah, 3 people coordinating there. Treemeister and Jim, and then Evolite. So working well together.
Super surprised to see that play of the game going over to the Winston. Somehow dumped more damage into that Graviton Surge than the Rocket Barrage.
Yeah,
that's something you don't see every day.
Yeah, typically it's one of the other ones, but I think it might have been that last pickup if Evolite couldn't do any more damage to the 6th member. Who knows? But yeah, now we'll get the teams picks. Are we gonna take a break, or are we gonna mellow?
I assume we're gonna jump straight in. So the way, like we said earlier, guys, the way this will work is the losing team, or the winning team. So Wangjiang Tower is gonna ban 4 maps, and then Winstoni Bologna can pick from anything that's remaining. And in the events is when we go later into the series, you cannot pick a map that you've already won on. Obviously, that won't be an issue right now, as Winstoni Bologna lost the first map.
And we'll say it though, if you've lost on a map, you have the opportunity to pick it again. It's only that the winner cannot pick the same map. So in effect, they usually people don't want to pick a map that they've lost on, but it's come back to help a losing record turn into a winning one by saying, you know what, we knew what we needed to do at the end there, we just didn't execute it well enough, and then repicking it. So yeah, now we're gonna wait for these 3 or 4 bans. This night is already going very quickly for those games, and I was expecting a little bit more back and forth trading of the point. Do you think that's something that we'll expect to see going forward? Is just kind of a blowout from the Wangjiang Tower?
It's hard to say too much after one map. I think for Winstoni Bologna, they looked a bit better when things were a little more structured, and so I'm thinking there's a chance the King of the Hill just might be the worst game type for them, as that tends to be the one that devolves into full-on skirmishing more than any other map. So we see Wangjiang Tower doing the smart thing, in my opinion. They're not banning any of those King of the Hill maps, so Winstoni Bologna, if they're thinking what I'm thinking, maybe see something involving a payload.
Yeah, a lot of these already do involve a payload of some sort. I can understand why they might ban them if they thrive in that chaos.
Yeah, because the first map was close there in Nepal, but 2 and 3 were not as close. And well, 30 gonna take Wangjiang to Lijiang.
Yeah, and after just talking about that chaos, that's
30 maybe not seeing what I'm seeing.
or maybe they're just more well versed in Li Zhang Tower instead of Nepal. Maybe Nepal's their weakest point map, and they like control points as well.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of hubris to bring Wangjiang Tower straight to Lijiang Tower. You know, that's
Yeah.
Now arriving at Lijiang Tower.
So I'm assuming even if Wangjiang Tower or Wangjiang wins this, we still go to a third map because you just play all 3 maps regardless, correct?
Caden. Well, Caden, I can do my best Caden impression if you guys like. Oh, I don't know, guys. So, Zed, if you're
That's
out
spot
there,
on.
I would love an answer to that in Twitch chat. Because I guess I would have no idea. I would have thought otherwise, but I can see your reason for doing it both ways. But anyways, we are in here, so looking at these picks. Yes, okay, was that yes to one answer or yes to the other, you fucking retard?
I like how the answer is just yes.
Alright,
Well-
so looking at the picks here, so we've got, this is something that's really worrying me. Evelite has been stuck on that Farah all night long, and Farah's one of those picks where if you're good at it, you can play it a lot, but if you play it 100% of the time, you're going to be getting counterpicked a hell of a lot.
Yeah, and they were running the Soldier 76 before, all ready to counter it, and now they're, I think, just expecting it.
As we see. Big flank coming out of Winstoni Baloney here, but they are just not anywhere at this point. True are getting on at the very last second here, but pretty compromised engage on Winstoni Baloney as it's just the Lucio, Wile E. Coyote trying to buy time. Although 2 picks going both ways, and it's going to be capped by Wangjiang Tower.
Yeah, there's a lot of chaos going on right now. 30 playing that McCree tries to ult. I don't know if he took down T-Mic. No, I don't think he did. I think T-Mic ended up falling regardless. So, ooh, 3 dropping on the side, 4 dropping on the side of Wangjiang Tower, and only Evelite dropping. So that's a retake.
There was no reason for Winstoni Baloney to go 20% there. They have so far tonight done a really good job of just getting on to the points, and they've given up some just really strange caps for no reason. But all's well that ends well as they do cap, and they're going to take a lead here before a refight happens.
Ooh, and a
As they
good
are pushing
pull.
very aggressively. That's UTech down. That's a big pick. Hammer getting dropped by Shooter Die though.
Jim and Wile E. Coyote both dropping. 30 going really low. Ends up being able to survive a little bit longer as his team can just continue to hold the point. Shooter Die and Chill Up fell on the opposite side as there's just chaos in the central tower room.
Yeah, that was a super nice fight out of Winstoni Baloney. They win that fight decisively. They don't pop a single. Well, now Treemeister popping. I don't know why he's popping the whole hog. He's just a little hypey there, but that's still going to be 5 ults available in a moment here for Winstoni Baloney, as they're in a really good spot to hold this. You know, with 5 ults available, you got to really fuck up a team fight to not hold the points. And then they're putting Wangjiang Tower into whole panic mode. But big Graviton Surge coming out of Jim. Sorgame is going to try to hold things with the Lucio ult, but still going to be 2 going down to Avalites. Still 3 ults available for Wangjiang Tower, as the res is going to come out of Scotch, only gets 1. As now the counter Grav Surge coming out of UTech and the counter Lucio ult.
Ooh, and that's a really huge amount of damage and kills coming out. That ult coming out of Chill Out, they're pushing Treemeister off the point, and oh, they have yet to recap. Treemeister stays on the point and survives it.
Yeah, 30 getting some good picks off from the staircase. That's 3 in a row going over to him on the McCree. And he is doing everything he can to single-handedly hold this point. 30 with 4 kills here. Maybe play the game worthy if, depending on how this goes, as this is going to
Devolve
one
into
pick at a
somebody
time
land
here.
on the point. And I don't think another member can get there in time after this
No.
one.
That's going to be a cap, or sorry, a hold for Winstoni Baloney there. So
The first map of the match going over to Winstoni Baloney.
Score 1-0.
It would be very ironic if Wangjiang Tower or Wangjiang loses to Winstoni Baloney on their home turf, especially after that first kerfuffle of losing pretty hard on a control point, King of the Hill.
yeah,
Because that looked a lot more decisive. Maybe they just had to get the nerves out, relax. They lost a game, now they can win two. I'm not sure, but it looked better.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you go up against great Overwatch players and get pretty nervous. I know when I'm up against Shooter Die and Albino Joe, like I'm kind of shitting in my pants. So
I'm assuming you're being sarcastic.
once you get the shit out of your system, you're ready to play. You know.
Some of us did that before the game started. Some of us are doing it during.
Alright, so map 2 here, we got both teams just rushing on the point. UTech getting an early pick onto 30. This could be really bad for Winstoni. As we saw 30 a pretty big factor in anything going right. And it's looking like Winstoni Baloney going for a full retreat with their captain down. They're not going to even risk this. So, first cap going over to Wangjiang.
Evolite's
Ooh.
doing a lot of damage, but he's never getting enough done to really provide a point where his team can push forward. And losing 2 damage dealers back to back, one goes up and then the other one goes down, is a really bad place to be, because you can't push forward. And 30 goes down again as the Scotch is trying to keep Jim healthy and drops himself.
Yeah, he's 30 going down, but this looking like might not be the worst. Evolite putting down a lot of damage here for his team, although and like maybe won't be able to capitalize on it like I thought they would. As Tremendous their Wily Coyote going down, only trading 2 for 1 there. Like that 3 for 1, looking like yep, gonna be another hold for Wangjiang Tower. 2-man res coming out of Scotch though, so looking like they really want to fight this as the Graviton Surge comes out, the Rocket Barrage comes out, and that's gonna be
big.
a clean ace out of out of Winstoni Baloney. Going to recap the point here, but they blow a lot of ults in the process.
And that's the thing I'm worried about. If you spend 3 or 4 ultimates in order to just retake a point after it's gone to 52%, I don't think you can win this map. Because now there's 4 on the side of Wangjiang Tower.
I think that's a pretty aggressive blanket statement, but we do see Wangjiang Tower coming in, and Jesus, they are dropping their ults very well. They pick up 3 kills right away here. They get bodies onto the point, and I don't see how 30's gonna have the heroics to hold this one, and he is not.
Yeah,
And just like that, we see the ult economy matters a lot.
And now UTech's got his ult, no other ults on the board at this point. And there it is. Pushing everyone away, taking down none. Jim gets low.
Ooh, Jim gets
Jim
hooked and
finally
picked. That's a rough time to get picked now, because it's going to be hard to set up a proper team fight here down the stretch for Winstoni, as Wangjiang retreating onto the point here. They're going to play this out pretty standard. Watch out, they do have the res available on Winstoni Baloney, so they have a chance to screw up this last team fight.
It's getting up there, 88%, and rising.
They're going to try to push it at the last second here. It's 30 dropping the Deadeye from deep, but not going to get any picks. That's a big ult down.
Albino
But Chill and
Joe.
Shooter Die both going down early here.
Scotch gonna try and get the res off. Cannot. He gets pulled.
Oh,
By
that's
Albino
both
Joe
healers down for
before.
Winstoni. That's rough. Evolite gonna try to get something with the Pharah ultimate. Gonna get one in a mech report going down, as it is just T-Mic on the point here. And sorry, now Chill Out and we got somebody switched over to a Tracer. No, that's Mini Diva. Doesn't matter
Yes.
because they hold the points, and they're gonna even Wangjiang Tower up 1-1 here.
1-1.
And Wangjiang looked a lot more like the team we saw in Nepal that map.
I think this last map will be the one that at least goes in the way of Wangjiang, because this map is one of the most chaotic that there is. So the teams that thrive here, I think they're the team that thrived on the other chaotic maps as well. I think they'll just continue to oppress the Winstoni Baloney, who just have to burn so many ults in order to retake a map. So hopefully they can contend a little bit better this time around. We've got both teams rushing out of their respective cages and going around the clock to face each other in the middle.
Yeah, so Treemeister going down really early here.
Jim dropping low, but the Mercy is keeping him topped off.
Yeah, point kind of established by a Wangjiang tower, and it's looking like Winstoni Baloney are gonna have to just give this one up. They just are not willing to contest 5v6 for these first captures. They don't want to give up the ult charge. So now we see they've got a full team. They're walking forward for a retake. They get a pick on the Albino Joe. This is what they were looking for. As we see the Reinhardt going off on the side. Even going to go down, but it's a 1-for-2 in favor of Winstoni. They got much better health wise right now.
Ooh,
Then he dropped
really
a nice
good
early tack visor. Trying to put down some damage, but he's only just poking onto the tanks. Not looking like it's going to be play of the game material here out of 30. As Ebolite's trying to rain something down from the side, but a nice hold out of Wangjiang Tower.
Yeah, I was expecting them after losing Albino Joe to have a little bit of a tougher time. And dropping the beat coming out as they try and push forward on the point. Jim, solo, ults, and goes down. They cannot retake this point.
Yeah, this is starting to look rough for Winstoni Baloney with a one-map outlier going on here.
Wangjiang Tower they've got the chaos and they know how to defend on the point. Whatever that ends up meaning, but they're doing it well.
Yeah, and
a lot
they
of
have
damage hitting the
great
point.
ult economy here too. They've got 4 available and they've almost got shooter guys. Just the tack visor missing for them.
Ooh, ult coming out of Evolite. Get Sword and Mace. That's big. That's one of their healers.
Yeah, but I don't know if they can afford to trade that ult just for a Lucio, which is what they end up doing. As Utek's gonna drop a bit of a zoning. Actually, Utek's gonna get Treemeister with the D.Va ults? Question mark.
And 30 popped his ult, but he could not bring anyone down as they've lost two. Scotch has his ultimate. He may try to burn it here. He does to get Jim back on the point. Ooh, that's 3 down on the side of Wangjiang as they're still contesting, but they've got 5 people, 6 people near the point. Utek running onto the point to just waste more time. And he jumps off as he fears for his life and suicides so he can rejoin his team.
Yeah, that's I did not think that was how that fight was gonna play out there.
Yeah, it looked like they ended up getting a couple lucky picks, maybe not lucky picks, and were able to recap the point.
But Wangjiang Tower's still in a fine place here. They've got 80% to work with before they're gonna lose this map. They're currently sitting on 3 ults, so they can kind of match Winstoni Baloney as they go for an engage here.
30
has that
his.
hammer available.
Wily Coyote has his. It's 3-on-3 until Albino Joe gets his. It'll be 4-on-3, and they're holding this point really well.
We're going in for the standing engage. Tack Visor's coming down as Jim's gonna drop the hammer first. Now watch Shooter Guy looking for his. Both Tack Visors have come out. No one giving a crazy amount of picks, but 2 members on each team going down here. Now Shooter Guy gonna drop a man advantage for Winstoni as they look to be holding this point pretty well. As a big res gonna hit 30, the most important member of their team.
Evolite goes down. Scotch getting his health back, but he keeps getting hit. He's going low. Manages to survive, keeping his other members healthy. Jim taking a nap on the point. He's okay because he's still on the point. Gets the shield up in time. He doesn't.
Looks like Wangjiang still wants to fight this as they're going for a really hardcore pincer engage here.
They might get it here as Wily Coyote is doing as much as he can to stay alive. Jim drops. Treemaster drops. Ooh, there goes 30. Evelite's the only one near the point. He ults, takes down 2, but it
not
isn't
gonna
enough.
matter, as the rest of his team is a little too far away. Scotch does not have a res available when he gets there, and that's map 3 going over to Wangjiang Tower.
Yeah, now we'll head. I think we head back to the first point where Winstoni Bologna had actually won one. Indeed, we no. Is this the?
I believe this was the second map.
Okay, that's
it
what I
doesn't
thought.
always go back to the first map. I think it's
Right.
can randomly go to either of the two. And shout out to the Overwatch custom game system for not allowing both teams to pause.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 4. Capture the objective.
I think Tree might have to do that.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know as a spectator I can't fly around while it's paused.
So, looking at the way these teams have played a little bit here, one thing that's really worrying me about Winstoni Bologna is, despite the number of maps they're losing, they really haven't been able to switch up their picks very much. And I think this is something we might have been able to predict going into the season. They've got a lot of, when you splurge to get 30 in gym, you're going to have a lot of lower rated players on your team. And it's looking like a lot of those guys just are not comfortable playing multiple heroes. And as the season winds on, that could be pretty problematic. Because, especially Evelite, the fact that he has been 100% uptime on this Pharah, that's really rough to plan an entire season around. Like, we might see multiple hit scan coming out against this guy. I mean, he's already had Roadhog, Diva, Soldier, pretty much there solely to take him out for a while now.
Yeah, and then they've switched 4 people, but Jim's been on Zarya or Reinhardt. Scotch has been on Mercy. Evelite's been on Pharah, as you pointed out. Treemeister's been on Winston and Roadhog this entire time, and like you said, they might have to really change things up more in order to push through this Wangjiang team, because they've pretty much had, aside from UTech, the same team this entire time. So, unless that's the perfect team comp.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the big things is when you're losing Overwatch, you got to just be willing to shake things up, and that has not happened out of Winstoni Bologna. As we see, though, Albino Show, actually, they don't need to change things up right now. Is Jim gonna get 3 kills with the Fire Strike?
That's achievement worthy.
Well,
I don't think it's an achievement, but I think it's achievement worthy.
Is that was the Fire Strike icon, right? I'm not nuts.
No, that was or was it the dash?
Maybe that must have been the dash. That must have been a knockoff. I hope our professional cameraman caught that shit, because I didn't.
Oh, it was a knockoff.
It was the dash, so that makes a lot more sense.
Ooh, so we've got Wangjiang Tower all going from the center. They had distracted them from the left-hand side. T-Mix dodging shots left and right, finally goes down. Ults dropped by each side, and
well, no,
Winstoni
ults
Bologna
only dropped
holding
by
it.
one side because Wangjiang Tower have not generated any ults yet, as they have been just getting...
I thought Jim used his and someone else used theirs, but I could be wrong. Anyways, they're going real far off the point to chase everyone down and keep them from heading anywhere near their point.
Yeah, some really good time bought there by Winstoni Bologna, but they will need to watch out for nothing because they have all the ults available. They're in a really good spot here.
And they're all running through the front point again, which didn't work well the first time. I guess they're trying to keep Shooter Die.
Yeah, they
in
got
front
Albino
this
Joe going for a flank, but they need multiple picks for this fight to go well. Shooter Die going pretty ham. 30 dropping the tag visor.
Wily
Basically,
Coyote Transcendence.
yeah, all the ults going down right away. Somehow only one pick there. Maybe not what Winstoni Maloney was hoping for. And Scotch goes down. He once again does not get the big res off. You have got to be kidding me. They had 5 ults available to none, and they do not hold the points.
That's absurd. Scotch had his, could not get the res off in time. So now it's going to be 91 to 12 as Wangjiang is going to do the best they can to keep this Winstoni Bologna team from recapping the point.
So I don't even think that Winstoni Bologna are going to approach this point until level out respawns, and that'll give me a chance here. I don't mean to harp on the boy Scotch, but actually no, that's my style. That's what I'm going to do. Scotch has not, I don't think, gotten a single really impactful resurrect off all night, and that really worries me when somebody has played now. This is their 7th map of Mercy.
And then, yeah, I think he's gotten 2 so far.
Yeah, 2-man res is the biggest we've seen, and that was only once or maybe twice. He has got to find ways to play a little more safe with that res, because Winstoni Bologna is really relying on it. As Evelite going on the flank, he's going to get 2 with the res. Sorry, with the rocket barrage. As things
Utech
looking...
does a zoning alt, and most of his team drops as they vacated the point.
Yeah, super clean recap there out of Winstoni Bologna using all the ults they had available. And they've still got a lot for this retake. They just need to get picks as Utech just trying to buy time for his team to get there. Sword and Mace is almost there on the Lucio.
Utech did buy a lot of time, and Sword Mace got on the point before they could recap. That is
Sword,
huge.
Sword does have an ult available too, but oh, Sword goes down before he drops the beats. And I think that's going to do it. Just
So 30
Albino
switch
Joe
to the
and
Reaper,
C-Meg.
ults to clear the team, and I don't think anyone can get here in time, and they can't. So now it is even on this Li Zhang tower against Wang. Jesus fucking Christ! I'm not even gonna try. It's
Wangjiang
2-2.
on Li Zhang.
I did like seeing 30 switch to the Reaper at the end, just to say, fuck it, they're mostly tanks. Why didn't we realize this earlier? And then ult them in their faces.
Yeah, well, 30 does not care what you like as he is switching back to his tried and true McCree.
I am disappointed. Ooh, Albino Joe switching off of a tank. Heading for the Junkrat.
I don't think that that's going to stay.
Are you sure?
But I'm wrong. Alright, that's, just what we expected coming into game map 5 on King of the Hill. Albino Joe switching over to the Junkrat. As this is a pretty good position for Junkrat to be in, able to lob grenades into that hallway, but nope.
But he goes
30's
down.
Gonna get him.
Yeah, I think what they were doing worked well. I think they just lost that last point. The stress of the match finally getting to them. And this is looking like Winstoni Bologna finally got coordinated. And the chaos is eating Wangjiang Tower alive.
Yeah, they've just been giving up too many costly picks before these fights really start. And now this gives Winstoni Bologna a huge ult advantage. They're pushing forward.
Yeah, everyone seems to be coordinating prior to running in here, and they're just hanging out. They're healthy, but willing to just give over some free time. Now they're pushing forward. They're split.
They were trying to set Albino Joe up on a flank. They're going for a really strange engage here with these picks. As Jim charging deep on the right hand, but they get a pick onto chill out on the soldier before things really start. And Wangjiang Tower are committed with their positioning. Gonna have to give up a second pick, and probably more before all is said and done. As they're trying to get on the point with what they have, but Jim with a nice hammer down.
This is just so awkward out of Wangjiang.
Yeah, it was such a long setup out of Wangjiang there, and they get nothing out of it.
But
now
I don't know why they had the Lucio flanking. Like, he should be with your team, either making them go faster or healing them. Especially when they only have an Ana who, with so many walls here, can't keep people healthy. 76%
Yeah,
and
this is
rising.
The do or die fights coming out for Wangjiang Tower here as they're walking in behind Shooter Die. They do have a lot of ults available, almost 6. They're only a few percent away, so they gotta be careful not to give up bad picks here as Jim coming a bit far forward, but no, Shooter Die goes down before he's able to drop the hammer. Keep an eye on the Junkrat tire if this can get anybody, as it's going to get Tree Master. That's 2 picks going over for Wangjiang Tower. UTech buying time on the points, and the D-Ball going to be enough for a cap here, so Winstoni Baloney opting to save the ults they have.
Gotch died early there, so his res didn't mean anything as he was one of the first ones to go down. And now, Wangjiang needs to hold this point the entire time, or do an immediate recap in order to win this map. This is absurd.
Not in a good place on ult economy. 4 guys under 25%, whereas there are 4 ults available for Winstoni Baloney, so they can kind of take the time here. They're coming in from the IT room, and they get a big pick onto UTech. The mech and the tech both going down as they're going to ride in behind Treemeister's whole hog here. Do or die. Jim gonna drop the hammer first, and once again, Shooter Die dies before he's able to drop the hammer. Oh man, Wangjiang Tower just getting wiped off the map here, and UTech gonna try to buy time, but there's no way this is gonna actually happen. And after an awful Nepal, Winstoni Baloney are going to take
Holy
Lijiang Tower.
cow.
Fuck your home field, says 30 and friends.
Play of the match.
So play of the match, ooh, this is gonna be Scotch?
Oh, he got 3 on the second point.
This one was actually very big too, because this set up the huge combo that they had there. I do remember that one now. I just didn't catch it being 3 in real time.
Yeah,
But
for the retake, that's what was so important. I guess I was more focused on the fight that was happening on the point to not see his res come out. And it was all of a sudden, oh, they've got more members, and the rest of Wangjiang is just dead. So congrats to Scotch for that res there. And now, Winstoni Baloney will ban 4 maps.
Yeah, so playing for game points here. As we were ready to write off Winstoni Baloney pretty early into the night, but as Batty Leagues should have taught all of us, everyone's less bad than they look.
Or the people that look good can throw it. I know we kind of touched on it already, but I think Albino Joe switching to Junkrat late in the game, they lost those points faster and harder once he was no longer on another tank.
Yeah, I did not like that selection, I'm gonna be honest. Especially after he died the first time, and then like even more after he died the second time. I don't know. Junkrat's one of those heroes where, like, a lot of people sometimes you're like, oh, I'm at 80%, I want to get an ult off before I switch. Junkrat has the worst ultimate in the game, so that's not a good rationale for sticking with the Junkrat there. And it didn't seem like the pick that Wangjiang needed, but obviously there's a lot more that goes into those kind of decisions than we make.
Yeah.
But I would not put my money on seeing the Junkrat again tonight.
Well, and one of the things that ended up being a problem later on was Evolite's Pharah, and without Albino Joe being able to take her down, Junkrat has such a hard time taking down Pharah, it's nearly impossible if it's against a good Pharah. So Chillout had a lot of that responsibility, and no one else on the team could really help him.
Yeah, Joe on the Roadhog, that was a big part of what they were shutting down Evolite with. Joe was usually in a position to put some pressure onto him.
And the bans came out. Volskaya, Hanamura, Anubis, Eichenwald, and Albino Joe's Wangjiang Tower is taking Dorado. This is interesting after so many of the payload maps were kind of reneged to be.
Yeah, this could give us a bit more of an idea of what the strengths of these teams looks like, as 30 just does not want to touch the 2-point maps. So we will see how these teams play around the payload. Like we were saying before Lijiang Tower, as I can see 30's team who kind of relies on structured play. Maybe they'll be a bit more natural playing around a payload.
This map, I think, is an interesting one to pick for delivery because there's a couple of points that are major contention. So the first corner, the one that's right before the bridge, is rough for everyone, or can be a rough spot. And then into the wide open space, the people that thrive at Chaos end up usually winning at that wide open space and just push it into the end, and then that final turn. So this map, because of those difficulties, will be a really good gauge for how well each of these teams can really do when faced with those varying obstacles that these types of maps hold. Looking at champions, we see 30 going back to the Reaper, which is interesting. Avalite has hopped off the Pharah and onto the Soldier. Brewmeister, Wily Coyote, and Jim sticking to what's normal. Albino Joe swapping over to that Soldier 76. UTech says, I want to shoot people with Widowmaker, and Chill Out swapped off the Soldier for the Roadhog. So they have not gone back to the 3-2-1 on the side of Wangjiang Tower, but they're going to try and murder some people's faces off, because that's what those champions look like they want to do.
Yeah, the offensive Widowmaker was maybe not the first thing I was expecting to see here coming out of Wangjiang Tower. As we see 30's team contents to give up this first stretch here, they're going to contest under the bends, more standard choke points. As UTech going to get the first pick of the game, though. That offensive Widow doing what needs to be done. Zenyatta going down.
Which is an interesting point, as 30 runs around behind the team. He's shooting people. He's killing people. He gets Albino Joe. He gets T-Mic. And he forces the tank back onto him as he's running around and laughing at Wangjiang as they're a mess after what he's put him through.
Yeah, 30 getting exactly what he wanted out of that Reaper pick there. As he's going to pick up Chill Out to end things just for good measure.
And members are just slowly going down on the side of Wangjiang. This first corner is proving difficult for them as Albino Joe also drops to 30. He is on fire and has his ult charged. I think this is the 30 we were expecting all along.
This is looking like the plan out of Winstoni Baloney was to lure him to that choke point, give 30 a nice engage on their back line. It worked super well. And now they kind of have a huge advantage here with a bunch of ults available, or close.
And to do it 5v6? Ooh, Treemaster goes down. 30 drops the ult. Couldn't pick up anyone as he gets low and has to run back for health. Two members going down on the side of Wangjiang as this starts to get pushed forward. Jim and 30 are behind enemy lines.
Yeah, Chill Out dropping a hog in the back line. This is a pretty crazy series of flanks coming out of Winstoni Baloney, but they're inching this card forward. Watch it now. 30 coming in on the back line, but immediately gets picked by the tag visor.
And that looks like a good reset. UTech switched off of the Widowmaker, for the rest of you that have already probably noticed it, and onto the Winston. Shooter Die going down. Chill Out on fire. He's going to have that whole hog very soon as they continue to push forward, and they're going to cap this first point. 30 could not drop down in time. I don't even think he would have wanted to if he could have. Ooh,
Yeah,
he's stealthy.
Nice series of plays there out of Wangjiang. Gonna get this first point, doing fine with the time they've got to work with. 30's got the drop available, but he does not have the Death Blossom, so I don't know if he's going to go for it, unless he really sees something he likes. But he is still an unknown quantity up there, and he seems content to be coming from this backline. They got to pick out a chill out. They have no idea that 30 is there. They've just now seen him.
They're sending multiple members to deal with him.
Ooh,
Ooh,
a big hammer
huge
down coming out of Shooter Die. Or sorry, out of Jim.
And no one goes down. Actually, they lose T-Mic and Albino Joe after such an excellent Earth Shatter.
Yeah, nice follow through out of Winstoni Baloney. They get the huge hammer out of Jim, and they don't have to commit just Avalite's Tack Visor. So they've still got 4 ults available for this next defensive fight.
That was a really good hold. And I got it wrong. It was Jim's ult, not Shooter Die's. But they were able to clean up the Wangjiang team with that. And he's about halfway to his Earth Shatter again.
Yeah, so it looks like
Utah going
wants
deep.
to break this line around. He's got the ape shit available. The whole hog coming out as well. So these are just a lot of zoning ultimates. They're not really getting substantial damage off here. They do bait out the tranquility out of Wily Coyote though. As now we see Jim back on the point, drops another big hammer down, and oh my god, Winstoni Baloney. You blink and you missed it, folks. That was another team kill.
Yeah, Jim did a lot of hard work and decided to take a nap on the side as he relies on his team to clean up after he catches some Z's. 30 going deep. He's going to try and provide a little bit more chaos for this Wangjiang team.
Wangjiang do have better ult economy going in this next fight, but Scotch does have the res available, and this is a really nice point on the map to look for some resurrects. A lot of places for the Mercy to hide, so we'll see what happens there as the attack visor coming out, a nano visor from the side.
30 doing work in the back line, taking some people down, but the rest of the team is pushing it, doesn't care about the damage that he's putting out.
The nano visor from T-Mic and Albino Joe gets 3 picks.
And Jim immediately drops once he touches the point. This corner is rounding a lot faster than this Winstoni Baloney team would like it to be. 30.
They will
He's
have
got
bodies there to contest
64%.
before the point though, so keep an eye on this. Now Streammaster's on the point, looking for a hit.
Ooh, a little bit early on
gonna have to drop the beats. That's could be rough. They could have needed that. They didn't get a whole lot out of the sword ults. Now 30 dropping and gonna pop the Death Blossom. Only gets 1 with it before it going down. A lot of members on both teams dying. Scott's gonna get a 1-man res off 30, gonna be back in the mix. As he is zoning UTech very deep here. 30 utilizing his second chance at life.
Wily Coyote ults to stay alive there. I want you to know that. He did not have to ult. So if this next point, if they need that, if they lose that here, that might be the deal breaker for them.
Yeah, there's
Philip
not a lot
switching
of time
to the
here.
Pharah.
Watch out though, 30
Blindly drops to 30's Reaper.
doing the Reaper things up on top there. Gonna be a huge pick. As now we see Jim dropping the hammer. This should be an easy hold for the boys on blue team. And that's going to be it. Winstoni Baloney only giving up 1 point there. So not going to have to go super far on offense.
Yeah, the 92.8 meters. We'll see how far Winstoni Baloney can push it. Ooh, 92.75. I'm glad the map does 2 different things. Great rounding, Riot.
Well, yeah, you know, Blizzard's actually a AAA game developer, so I think it is totally fair of us to expect a little more out of them. Like, you know, consistent measurements.
Right. What's the decimal point for if they're not going to use it?
Yeah, I'm pretty personally disappointed right now. See this. And if anyone ever asks why Overwatch is never taken off as an esport, that's why.
Yeah, we found the flaw.
Thanks,
Because,
Blizzard.
spectator.
Alright, so looking at these picks here, we've got a very different comp coming out of Wangjiang Tower on defense. They're going to be going for one of those patented Albino Joe Symmetra comps. So it's going to be 3 supports, 1 DPS, 2 tank. Not super out of the ordinary when you're running the Symmetra.
But they don't have... Never mind, I just now noticed that T-Mic and Sword Mace are both healers. So yeah, this is going to be a little odd. Albino Joe, Symmetra does do quite a bit of damage. I can either see this comp going really well or really poorly.
Yeah, that's the general rule with Symmetra, is it's a pretty all-in, and when it works, it's going to work really hard, and when it doesn't work, you're maybe going to want to consider switching. This is better than some maps where, I mean, you can just kind of fall back a bit and reset up as the Symmetra. So options are open, but see a lot of the same picks coming out of Winstoni Bologna, as there's just one man pushing this cart. They've got 5 coming up behind here. They have been heard, but there is going to be a man disadvantage here. But high ground acquired from Wangjiang Tower.
And Albino Joe chasing Wily Coyote around on this point. He's taking quite a bit of damage, can't provide a lot back in return to Albino Joe.
Yeah, but there we go. Shooter Die gets the kill onto Jim, but 30 going to get the one back. That's going to be 2 members down for Winstoni Bologna. Jim and 30, their best players down.
Yeah, True also drops. Evelite drops. 30 switches to Tracer. She says, screw this. I'm going to do my own thing. As people are now running to the point.
But surprise! Symmetra turrets!
They've only been there for like the last, I don't know, minute and 4 seconds?
But Winstoni Bologna have not been. As they're now moving this point up and looking like Wangjiang Tower contents to contest this. Teleporter coming out from Albino Joe. So that was the choice with the Symmetra ultimate. As we see now, the jump down onto the point. Scotch going down first yet again. As Winstoni Bologna being forced pretty far off of this point. Cho going to drop the attack visor from the high ground.
And that's going to succeed pretty well in stopping any of the push that would come out of Winstoni Bologna.
Yeah, 30 also finds the teleporter while this is going on, so that could be impactful come the next fight.
Oh, I didn't see he took it out. That is awesome news. Because shutting down... Ooh, big ult coming out of UTech to try and kill Treemeister, and he does. Everyone else gets pushed a little low. Evelite dropping, Scotch dropping low.
Ooh, big pick onto Wily Coyote's Lucio there from UTech. As 30 is just tracing around in the back line, trying to be obnoxious here. He's drawing people very far away from this point, but going to go down before his team's in position to capitalize. And this has been a very good hold out of Wangjiang Tower, who are, once again, sitting in a pretty solid place in ult economy. They're going to have 3 available, almost 4 here.
Yeah, on the opposite side, they have 3. Evelite needs to do quite a bit of damage. Ooh, Wily Coyote drops to UTech. This is going to be rough. Chill out ults, but there's just a giant shield in the way. He can't actually do any damage, so that's an ult wasted. Ooh, Shooter Die. And a 2-man res coming out of Scotch. Missed Jim just barely.
Yeah, but this is still looking good for Wangjiang Tower, as they are just super focused firing here, picking off 1 man at a time, but not letting Winstoni Bologna push this cart at all. And Winstoni Bologna, they committed all the ults they had available to that fight. They've only got time for maybe 2 more fights here in this game.
And they did lose Evelite, but he will come back with an ult available, most likely, to this team.
Yeah, they're
as
close
long
up
as
to
they
the
can
points
touch
that
it.
they'll have time for 2 fights even with that bad pick. But there's still a lot of ults available for Wangjiang Tower, as they dropped a teleporter again. 30's no longer on the Tracer, so 30 going down. They could not afford that, as bam, 3 picks, Shooter Try dropping the hammer to kill what remains. Evelite, though, coming in on the back line, but only going to get 1, and then kills himself with the rocket barrage.
30's the only person that can get to the point in time if it is even an option. Oh, and he gets pinned into the wall, and he is down. And that's going to be the end of it, folks. That's
Yeah, and I think we were saying that maybe the structure was going to be good for Winstoni Baloney, but they looked a lot more awkward playing around the cart there, as they were,
To 2.
other than one brief push, never really able to get onto it. As overall, I think Wangjiang Tower going to walk out of tonight's games feeling pretty good. They won pretty decisively on 2 maps and had a very close loss.
Play of the
And
match.
play of the game gonna be Albino Joe.
He's
You know,
running around with that phaser.
Look at this kid. Get ready for a true display of skill. Oh baby. Oh baby. Oh, and he
Oh!
shoots the barrier in there, and Evelite kills himself bouncing off of it. Oh man, that justifies that play of the game
It does. So
entirely.
yeah, that'll be game 1 tonight. We'll probably be taking a short break. Following up with game 2, we've got Team Lenny versus Team Casey, unless the Team Casey's been renamed, I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have been at some point. It's going to be Lenny Face versus very aggressive Genji. So stay tuned. We'll be swapping streamers here, guys.